All right, Saints and Panthers this weekend up in Charlotte. After the trade deadline, it'll be interesting to see what the Saints might actually be able to look like. Of course, no Trevor Penning after you've traded him. No Rashid Shaheed. Of course, Eric McCoy's already out. We're going to keep an eye on Taliese Fuaga and how that looks for his availability for this weekend. The Saints injury report is out for the Saints and Panthers this week. This is the updated injury report for today. So as we kind of look at what this looks like, the most notable DNP is still Taliese Fuaga. He's got the ankle injury. Of course, he was carted off against this past weekend on the road, and I can't help but look at this and I don't know, man. This is giving me awful vibes like a season ago, where that offensive line was a total mash unit. When at one point you had 3 starters down, and it's kind of looking like it again, where McCoy's been lost for the season. Now you've traded Trevor Penning. Dylan Radins is going to go in at left guard, no doubt. If Taliese Fuaga isn't in there, you're going to have a hole at right tackle. So really your most experienced lineman is, I guess Luke Fortner at center, but really Cesar Ruiz at right guard, who's your worst lineman. And then you got a rookie left tackle. Carolina is, as I look at them, that's not a great defensive team, but that's a defensive team that at times has played really well, if that makes sense. The Panthers right now are 16th in the NFL in scoring defense. They're smack dab in the middle, but that number is skewed because they gave up 42 on the road at New England. They gave up 40 against Buffalo. So you give up those big numbers against better offenses. Okay, well, I can also look at them shutting out Atlanta 30-0, or just this past weekend in Green Bay, going to Green Bay to play the Packers and giving up just 13 points to Jordan Love in that offense. So that's a Panthers defense that at times this year, has been good. What that team has struggled to do is find consistency. They shut out Atlanta 30-0, and then they get blown out a week later at New England 42-13. They get blown out by the Bills 40-9. Then they beat the Packers on the road 16-13. So that's a team that's 5-4, but they have struggled to find consistency, which means you could see a Carolina team show up that beat Atlanta 30-0, or it could be the team that got routed 42-13, or was in just a total knockdown, drag-out 13-6 puke fest against the Jets, who might be the worst team in football. And that was before the Jets traded Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. So anyway, we'll see how it looks for that Saints offense. I think all of us are just trying to look at this team to see how they evaluate Tyler Shough throughout the course of the remainder of this season, right? They gave Spencer Rattler 14 starts, 6 a year ago, and then the first 8 this year. And the remainder of this season is going to be Tyler Shough's. And you got to find a way to get an evaluation on him, despite the fact that you're going to have a maybe the worst offensive line in football, and you just traded away the guy who has been your best your most dynamic offensive weapon in Rashid Shaheed. So this is going to be a lot of Chris Olave, Devon Vele, Juwan Johnson. Does Taysom Hill get more involved? I don't know. How healthy is Alvin Kamara? We'll see. It's just really hard to expect that this is going to look good at all offensively. So Fuaga's a DNP. The other DNP on Thursday was Devon Gottschall, but that's been every week. It's a Veteran Day rest day that he gets on Thursday. Brian Brzee was added to the injury report today. He was a limited participant with a back injury. So Gottschall and Brzee were the 2 new additions on the injury report. And then the others, those that were limited, Kamara, Stoll, were limited. Kamara with an ankle, Stoll with an ankle, and then those on the injury report that were full were Taysom, Cam Jordan, Barry Wesley, and Jonah Williams. So Saints pretty healthy, but the one place where you've struggled so mightily on that offensive line, and you could ill afford to lose anyone else, your starting right tackle, Taliese Fuaga, very much up in the air because, look, if you're not at least out there in a limited capacity by Friday, we talk about this all the time, but and especially in a road game where you're traveling, if you're not at least out there in a limited capacity by Friday, it is hard to imagine him giving it a go on Sunday because you got to fly with elevation. A lot of times there comes swelling, and so with that ankle, man, it could be a challenge. But this isn't the first time Fuaga's battled injury this year and gone out there and given it a go. He's had the knee injury already this year, and now he's battling the ankle. The flip side, the one name above all others that we got to keep an eye on for Carolina is Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle, the former South Carolina running back, he has been awesome this year. One of the biggest surprises in the NFL, averaging nearly 6 yards a carry. He's already over 700 yards rushing on the season. Rico Dowdle, with the quad injury, was a DNP Wednesday, limited Thursday. So he was out there in limited capacity. You have to figure they are just ramping him up slowly to get him out there however they need to get him ready to go on Sunday. But listen, this is a Carolina offense that Bryce Young has been certainly not dynamic. They're 30th in the NFL in passing offense. So, and look, they drafted Tetairoa McMillan with the 8th overall pick. So they've got some investment there in their passing game, especially with Bryce Young being a former number 1 overall pick, and then McMillan. Then of course you had Xavier Legette as well. So you've got investment there into some playmakers, but that offense has gone this year as Rico Dowdle has taken them, averaging 5.5 yards a carry. He's been great, man, and so that's the thing to keep in mind. And this is a Saints defense that has been really bad against the run this year. So can they find a way to stop the run or limit the run, make Bryce Young beat them throwing the football? But then, our Kool-Aid McKinstry and Quincy Riley, Alontae Taylor able to limit that passing game and those receivers. We'll see. It's the lot in life of being a bad football team, which the New Orleans Saints are. But keep an eye on Rico Dowdle and his health. The other thing, just really quickly on the injury report for Carolina, there were 2 new names. So Bryson Tremaine, a wide receiver, was a new addition with a hip injury. He was a DNP. Derrick Brown, this could potentially be significant. He was limited. He was not on the injury report Wednesday. Then he was limited Thursday with an elbow injury. It doesn't look like it's anything serious. I mean, he was out there just in a limited capacity. But something worth watching as he's been a menace. Everyone here remembers Derrick Brown from his time at Auburn, just one of the more dominant interior linemen of that era over at Auburn. So we'll keep an eye on that as we move through Friday and toward the weekend. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.